And we are live. Hello and welcome everybody on social media, Facebook, on YouTube. Welcome all our viewers who are listening in to this Utopian Global webcast. And we're going to have a great discussion talk today about obviously one of the very, very important things, and that is precious metals. Gold, silver. We're going to talk about diversification as we often talk about it, but we're going to go a little bit more into detail, into depth on this today's hangout here with me and you guys. This is Claudia here from beautiful Dubai. And I'm not joined, unfortunately, today by our founder and CEO, Bill Wall. He's not going to be able to make it today, but I hope I can give you some really, really great insights today and why I'm a very, very long believer in precious metals, while, of course, also embracing the new, very much so, definitely, but always having very much the fundamentals in the background, and fundamentals somehow don't change. So gold and silver is and has always been money, and always, I believe, very much will be, even though we do have obviously cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, which so often will now be compared to, or even said it is even stronger money. But let's not get so much bogged down with that. I want to really today talk about why the best hedge against inflation in especially troubled times, which your fiat money, your stimulus money maybe is buying you, should definitely be gold. I'm a very much believer of that, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more so the insights, because it is so key, and very often it gets forgotten in all these things which are going on. But before I do that, I want to just very quickly share here, because I'm actually having to manage it by myself tonight. So my assistant is not here. So let me just go ahead and share this broadcast so that really everybody can be able to listen to, while we at Utopian Global so much believe in precious metals, gold and silver, and obviously why you should be diversified, especially in this challenging, uncertain time where we are right now. And well, are these uncertain times? I mean, really. All right, so I have shared it now with a few more of our groups in Utopian Global, the members, the Wealth Club, which we are running. So the best hedge against inflation in troubled times, fiat money really can buy, and why gold belongs in really everyone's portfolio, despite, you may say, its recent weakness. Because last week, or the last few weeks, actually the last few months, gold obviously hasn't performed like back in August 2020, when we saw a huge rise. In fact, we had all-time highs in gold. So a lot of people may think, oh, well, this gold run, this bull run is over, and let's put everything into other alternatives. Let's put everything into Bitcoin. Let's put everything into, of course, the stock market. See, one of the biggest issues investors facing is unprecedented money printing by central banks. That never had happened in history, because since the Fed, which is, of course, the Federal Reserve Bank, does, of course, print, or is going ahead with printing so much stimulus money, there's no doubt that inflation is set to rise. And you got to see it a little bit like Las Vegas without drinks. Like Bill Bonner says, that's really sort of how it comes down to a system contrived for really deluding the states with paper money instead of gold and silver, for really withdrawing our citizens from the pursuit of commerce, of actually building something, of doing something, of manufacturing, of buildings and other branches of useful industry, to occupy themselves and their capitals in a species of gambling, right? And when, of course, especially the Americans on the call, and we have a lot of Americans on the call, when you go back to Thomas Jefferson, which I believe you all know who he was, Thomas Jefferson, of course, back then the United States president, he sent a letter to George Washington on March 1 in 1792. And back then there was a huge panic, and it was also the formation of the first bank of the United States. And Jefferson, he was really right, but it did really, thinking now in retrospective, today where we are at right now, it took more than 200 years for really this coming out, and now it's here. Commerce, manufacturers, and other useful industries, where are they? They're in decline. See, when we're just talking about the US, and we really always talk globally, but because obviously everybody recognizes so much and looks up, of course, for the United States. See, the US economy grew more than 5% per year during the Kennedy-Johnson years. Now, in Trump terms, the growth rate was 1.25%, the lowest since the Great Depression. And we are entering a new era. But see, this gambling, unfortunately, is more popular really than ever. I mean, it's more popular than ever. Because obviously there's a lot of free money being distributed. And now, of course, the stock market. See, previously, the stock market was really a place to discover real values of some great industries, some great companies. Now, what is it? It's a huge casino. It's like, as I said, Vegas without the free drinks, where companies, that might worth zero are valued at billions and billions of dollars. How come? Well, just look at Airbnb. I mean, I like the invention of Airbnb, but what do they own? Do they own anything? Do they own any real estate? Any hotels? Do they? Apartments, houses? Not really. So when you look at, of course, the big hotel chains, the Hiltons and Marriotts and so on, I'm actually here in a beautiful one. This is a real proper real estate, of course, which is owned, which is generating money. Now, you can argue with that. But the point I'm making is because the country, and especially, of course, now talking about the United States, but really going into all the other countries as well, has been really deluged with paper money, easy money, fast money, fake money, stimulus money. But what if, you see, we really did try to, let's say, in the United States, pay the federal debt back? Let's say, what would it take if we would actually try to do that? And as for the debt, of course, in the United States, let's really play this around. What if everyone in the country, let's say, gave $1 to $5 of the principal every year, let's say? And I really don't know how many people live in the United States, but I know it's a lot. So how many years would it actually take? And if this is done, I know that many rich people would actually give more than just $5 back if we really could get rid in the United States of that huge piles and piles of debt. Well, let's do a calculation. If each American would be pitched to actually put $5 every year, how long would it actually take? What are you guys thinking? Comment, think, take out your calculator. I know we have lots of Americans on the call. What would it take to actually pay back 28 trillion in debt? What would it take? I'd love to see some commentaries there from you people, because I tell you, I did the calculation before, and the answer is 21,937 years. That's it. 21,937 years. That would it take if everybody would actually pay $5 per year back. And that's only if the Fed stopped adding more debt, which of course is not going to happen. They're going to have to print more and more and more. And which is why we need, of course, as I did some research on these inside of George Bush, and he said back then, actually George W. Bush, he said many years ago, if the money supply is not going to loosen up, and he said it in those words, I wouldn't otherwise use those words, this sucker will go down. That was his words. And that's what happens. See, Hemingway noted, and if you don't know Hemingway, he was he lived many years in Cuba. The Cubans certainly would know Hemingway, but a great writer, obviously. At first, Hemingway noted, inflating the money supply, what does it actually do? It produces a little but temporary prosperity. Little and temporary. The word is here temporary prosperity. It's only going to be temporary. But then if you do one thing, and that is if you stop inflating, that so-called or pseudo prosperity is actually going to disappear. And again, as George W. Bush said, this sucker will go down. And, you know, this is the same trap they faced back in Germany. Back then, of course, I remember as a little child, my great-grandparents, they had those paper notes. I mean, a lot of you guys have no idea, but on one of those paper notes, and when I'm back in Germany, I'm going to grab them to show to you, was like 1 trillion Reichsmark. And it would buy you, back in the time, a loaf of bread. 1 trillion Reichsmark. That was Germany. Now, of course, the same trap was also faced in Zimbabwe by Gideon Gono, in Argentina, in Venezuela right now, with thousands of percent of inflation. I remember the same happened back then in some of the Eastern European countries, in Bucharest. This is Romania. I remember as a little child, I was probably, 12, 13 years of age. I went from Bulgaria to Romania, and those kids had stacks of money in their in their hand, but the shops were empty. They couldn't buy nothing for it. Nothing. So I literally gave my sandwich up for them so they had something to eat. Where I'm going with that is, it's inflate or die. It's inflate or die. Each administration obviously and naturally wants more prosperity, no matter which and who is going to come in and be the new president. It doesn't matter. You always want more prosperity. You want more prosperity. I want more prosperity. We all want. We all want a better life. The problem is we want it even if it's temporary. So it does need to loosen up the money supply a little bit more. And this is why the Fed's, Federal Reserve Bank, real interest rate charged to member banks was below zero for all but a couple of quarters over the last 10 years. And of course, this leads to an even greater dependence, on making this paper money more worthless. And eventually, unfortunately, it sets the nation up for a catastrophe. That's, you can only inflate so long, or inflate or die. And it's unfortunately too many wrong choices made over a sustained period of time. And once a heavy object begins rolling down, this steep hill, so to speak, it just doesn't stop. It eventually smashes into something big. And it doesn't matter what you say, or it doesn't matter what you think. As it rolls downhill, it really gathers momentum, making it more and more dangerous to try to stop it. And you see, we used to thinking that, things are under control, and that if they only would do the right thing, maybe the right choices, maybe. But, unfortunately, they can't. They really cannot. So one second, my internet is here dropping. Okay, one second. Now my internet is back here. I just saw it popping up. Internet is going basically off here. So sorry, I apologize for that. But as I said, but once you've made those wrong choices over time, over a long time, it's so difficult to turn that wheel around, because now you took up the speed, and how can you, this snowball, how can you stop this snowball? It's just not possible. And see, this is where gold is a hedge against inflation, against too much money printing. And really few investors do actually care about gold when the good times, and the Wall Street going up, when Bitcoin is nearing all-time highs, and they say, "Oh, Claudia, come on, and it's never going to happen. It's never going to crash. It's going on. They need to print more." And of course, what's happening? Those big guys on Wall Street, those big owners of those shady companies, are they buying their shares back? Of course, from all this free money they are getting. Right? So what does it mean? Well, if you continuously, as those CEOs of those companies, buying back their shares with the free stimulus money they got, or bailout money they got, well, obviously, their shares going up. But is it really is it really something there, or is it just fake? Well, it's unfortunately just fake, and eventually it will collapse. When, we don't know. But gold is something, you'll be very happy to own when it crashes. Now, I know I'm very happy that I actually own gold, and I have been accumulating gold over time. Now, I also need still cash, because obviously, you need cash still. And I'm also happy with having some sort of diversification in some of those newer things like Bitcoin, or maybe some other cryptocurrency. Maybe also, I'm playing a little bit. Why not? But again, a little. And my substantive portfolio diversification strategy is obviously having this insurance policy, really, really key. And this is where gold, let's face it, I'm here in Dubai. Gosh, I don't know how many people I've talking to lately, but a lot, I tell you that. Well, 99%, I would say, it's gold. Ask any Asian, Filipino, Chinese, Pakistani, Indian, Bangladeshi, Sri Lankan. Do they rather have save in this? Do they rather save in this, or do they rather save in Bitcoin? It is this. It is gold. And why? And of course, those are big populations, certainly bigger than all of Europe together, certainly bigger than America. But yet, they know. They have been continuously, of course, living in environments of corruption and of high inflation. So gold is something you'll be happy to own when stocks are crashing. And just look at the 2008 stock crash that, of course, kicked off the last financial crisis. Over the 3 years after, Well, gold went actually from 724 an ounce to more than 1,900 an ounce. And that's a 162% gain. You know, a near triple in price. And gold, of course, did what it was supposed to do. It, of course, is a disaster-proofed, or it disaster proofs your portfolio. That's what it does. So I'm not a financial advisor, certainly not. But my advice, I, for myself, take is that gold remains, of course, the best hedge against inflation. You got to own some gold in your portfolio. You got to hold it for the long run. You got to treat it as an insurance policy, as a hedge against inflation. It may not always, you know, track inflation concerns. You may not have them so much. It may not always track central, you know, bank money printing, but it's one of the best ways to offset, you know, tumbles in this stock market when they come along. And I can tell you, they will come along. The day of reckoning is going to happen. It will come. When it will, I do not know. But what I do know for sure, it is going to come. And again, I just speaking as well from broad knowledge and, you know, being able to having lived in Venezuela. So I actually, Venezuela now, gosh, I feel for it. It's, you know, hyperinflation, you know, no jobs, no food, their money but doesn't buy nothing. I lived in Venezuela. Venezuela was a prosperous country. I mean, it was amazing. It was beautiful. It was doing so well. That was when I was, you know, barely 18. I ventured out, of course, wanting to know the world, traveling the world, and lived over half a year there. I stayed a long time in Mexico. I love to go to Argentina. I have been many times to my beloved Argentina. Lived in Spain, lived 4 years in Spain. I remember very well when, you know, the 2000, in fact, I remember, you know, 9/11, I lived in Spain, but I remember the stock and housing bubble in Spain, lived through it. I always ask myself, how can it be possible that a house, an apartment would cost so much money when the average worker, and I'm German, but I lived in Spain, and back then, you know, Spain was an agriculture country, not really rich. People would immigrate to Germany in order to find better jobs, which actually they do now again. But back then, when I lived there in the late 90s, early 2000s, was, you know, house prices in cities which were not touristic cities. I lived in Zaragoza, the capital of Aragon. In the middle of Spain, they would go for a flat in the inner city to €1,000,000. And I was like, wow, this is like crazy. They can never make this in life back. And, you know, they would take out loans 70 years ahead, meaning somebody would take a loan and the kids or even grandkids had to pay it back. And of course, everything came down, lost everything. Of course, bank, of course, then cashed in and owned those real estate, and the people left out. So I went through those bubbles, those crises. I'm now living here in the Middle East. And I see, of course, things, how they are changing. I see, of course, how really the world is shifting. The world is shifting from the West to the East. We see and talk to so many business partners in the Middle East, in Asia, in Pakistan, Bangladesh, India. Those countries are going to be doing very well in the future. While, of course, unfortunately, because the snowball is very much, you know, in the roll now, are going to be not doing so well. So in concluding here with my little short, you know, gold presentation today, I really want you guys to be aware that if you are living in these countries, if you're in the United States, if you're in Europe, you got to really think globally. The world is globally. You get your products from outside, so you got to think globally. It is shifting. So you need to be diversified. You need to be strategically diversified. And I'm so happy that with Utopian Global for our platform, you can get involved into, of course, a platform which is strategically positioned. It's actually poised for a huge, really into this huge trend which we are coming in, and that is, owning real estate, which actually produces something in production, manufacturing of food supply, in of course all kinds of different things which we will need going forward with this changing of societies, changing in monetary terms, really key to own gold. And you can do that very easily through our platform. But in the next months ahead, we're going to launch very great products for you, so that you really will have a basket of opportunities, so that you, from very little money, you can say you're not being left out. You can actually put some money aside, which for future generations, and of course for you, will be a hedge against inflation, will be a safe haven, will be something where you don't have to worry. You don't have to look every morning, did my Bitcoin go up? Did it go down? Did my stock market, is this stock still there, or did it go down? So where you really can sleep again. And you know what? I always say, like, where I'm at my life, I like to sleep well. And I wish this for you guys as well. Very much, I wish that you guys are taking the right steps and the right measurements. And please don't gamble. I mean, a little gambling is okay, but just don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't gamble too much, because we are in a stage right now where we are, of course, already very far too much as we should have ever gone. But unfortunately, there is no way really then to stop this money printing machine anymore. There is really no other way. So therefore, guys, and I know we have here a few people on the call who are giving us comments and feedbacks and and shout outs, which is really great. I'm so grateful for you. Actually do that, because it's so key. Share it, because I see it so often. People have not that knowledge. They don't know where to go for it. They don't know what advice, where can they learn more about it. Go out and share this message with other people. Ask questions. Go to the person who invited you to check out Utopian Global. Check out, is it real? Is actually the gold and the silver which we provide real? Do we deliver? Do you actually can cash in times of need your gold into, I don't know, euro, dollar, yen, dinar? Can you do that? Reach out and ask. And I know you're gonna be very gladly surprised with the answers you're gonna get, because we have people with us for 13 years almost now, which is really great. Ken is asking, the debt system is meant to enslave people. So right, and built so that it cannot be repaid, or it would make the entire system collapse on itself. Yes, you are absolutely right. This is how this monetary system, and so many people don't understand it, is actually built. It's built on to really enslave you more. And let's face it, I see it. I mean, the stories in the Western world, they really have no idea sometimes. The stories we hear here, we learn here is sad. I mean, the stories from people from Syria, Yemen. It's terrific. It's tragic. It's so bad. You hear the people here coming to work to this place. So it's so nice, but they're getting paid very little. They're sending all their money home, paying high fees, and sending the money home through those, of course, facilities which facilitate, of course, the money transfer. They often don't see their children for 2 years. I mean, we have so many people, hundreds I spoke personally to, who haven't seen their children in years. I have this one story with our business partner. He said, like, the hairdresser down below here in one of those hairdressing shops, she's actually afraid to talk to the children on the phone with FaceTime. Why? Well, because she doesn't want to see them, because she can't go back, because she can't afford to go back. And she's just preferring to send the money home so they can survive. So you have all those stories, which is really tragic. And this is where I say, like, we have an amazing platform where no matter where you are, you can hedge your money from confiscation through inflation with precious metals, but also where we have a platform which is only going to get better, where you can share, and I can't tell and reveal so much, but it's going to get better, where you can share this platform. And when you share it and other people actually purchase products, you can get paid for doing so. So even if you had no money, you could actually make money when other people, which you actually showed our great platform to buy from us, can make some money. And this is really wonderful, because now you have a global business in your pocket. You can really conduct from anywhere in the world. So with that, guys, that is what I wanted to share with you today, a little bit longer talk. And I tend to speak slow, but because we have a lot of people from different places who, English is not their first language, it's not mine. And so I apologize for that. But that's why I tend to always speak a little bit slower, so that you really can understand and grasp the message I try to deliver here. So with that, guys, again, thanks for liking it. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for the comments. And I see you in one of our future presentation. I believe on Thursday we have hopefully Dr. Adrian Blue doing a presentation for you guys to again learn more about why precious metals, why now more than ever important to own. Thank you, guys, with that, and have a good evening or good morning, depending where you guys are. Thank you. And keep liking.